Aloha, this is Patrick, Recovery Conversations. Thanks for being here. In an industry where successful treatments are on par with no treatment at all, some innovation's needed, and innovation needs innovators and some capital to make that happen. Scott Schroeder over at Exclusive Hawaii Rehab on the Big Island is one such person. In this short clip, we're going to talk a little bit about the magic number 28 in treatment. Most of you know that it's believed that 28 days is an effective time frame in which to treat addiction. It's, first of all, very untrue. Most people don't, and it's even complicated more by the types of drugs people are using these days. Many drugs, such as opioids, require a much longer period to recover from. The magic number 28 days came largely from two factors in its past. One is the U.S. military that figured out 28 days fit their schedule and fit their finances as far as treating addiction within the military. That pattern was quickly adopted by Hazelden Betty Ford as relevant and useful with zero scientific backing. So when you look at addiction and all the factors driving it, how society is changing, how family structure is changing, how what we eat is changing, you have to think differently as times change. So over at Exclusive Hawaii Rehab, they do just that, and Scott talks about his program in this clip. Mahalo. I'm going to read something right from Exclusive's website, which starts off by saying, unlike most alcohol and drug rehab programs, we focus on you, not your addiction. So to me, that says you're making a pretty strong distinction between you and perhaps a more common or mainstream path in recovery. So why did you make that distinction? What does it look like at Exclusive, in your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion and in my experience, it's you know good and bad. We're dictated to the insurance guidelines and requirements and the evidence-based treatment, which is fine. But if we only adhered to that, the outcome measures in our industry are not very good. The outcomes that I've read and I've seen and experienced, if it's 13% or if it's 14%, it's not very good for 1 year or more recovery coming from a licensed treatment center. So as an owner and as somebody who's also in recovery for now 34 years, I just couldn't really get excited about having something that is going to come up with results that are anywhere close to that. And so my experience is rather than just go through the assembly line type of approach, which has been my experience owning other treatment centers and being involved in other treatment centers, we really wanted to have it to where it's a focus on the individual. At first, the first 30 to 60 days is really a focus on the individual at the we call it the core level. And the way we say core level is not just from what's going on psychotherapy wise, but also on a physical level. So at the cellular level, we've seen a lot of change for clients that we're not only treating to get over the symptoms, but to deal with the real issues medically and psychologically. So I don't know if that really explains what the approach is, but I'm happy to elaborate.
So thank you for that. And a couple things I want to dig into. One of them, you mentioned like the first 30 to 60, 90 days. To me, that creates a pretty stark comparison or distinction to what is generally assumed to be what works, which is the magic 28 days, right? In my personal experience with recovery and my studies, there's really no scientific backing to that number. When you talk about treating addiction versus a whole person, which I think what I'm hearing you say is that takes a lot more than 28 days. So how does that play out over time for you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I have seen, and I've asked from other colleagues in the industry, and I have seen reports that say 90 days is really where the magic happens on an evidence outcome basis. And so the first 30 days is really scratching the surface, and and in my opinion, it's a disservice to people coming for help to really only look at a 30-day program.
Right. Awesome. So I personally have the opinion that I'll use an example. I am a somewhat member of AA. I have a sponsee. When I agreed to work with him, I did not agree to his participation in a program. What I agreed to is his recovery, whatever it looks like. So you've alluded to, spoken to evidence-based approaches. So how do you think, how would you compare and contrast what happens in mainstream ideas versus evidence-based? What's the difference?
Yeah, I can tell you from several different fronts. There not one size fits all in my experience. And that's the problem that we're working against, is that there's a whiteboard, there's reports, there's research, and then there's a statement that says this is what needs to be done for everybody looking for recovery. And in my experience, that does not serve everybody. So when you have a relatively small treatment center with 3 or 4 times that amount in staff, we can customize it. And what I mean by that is we're primary for mental health and substance use diagnosis. What that means, it's a keyword. People coming additional issues other than just what they're putting at the bottom line. What that looks like is we're looking at the whole picture. We think food is medicine, for example. That you can help inflammation be reduced when you have the right type of diet and the right type of, this morning, for example, the clients are having ginger shots to start their day. And it sounds like kind of a a potty thing, but it's proven to help reduce inflammation. And so the ginger that's grown on our fields, the turmeric, the lemons plucked from the trees, clients going in there and getting themselves, it's all part of that holistic, healthy, choosing a different path versus other ways to deal with pain.
Awesome.
Thanks for watching. And as always, if you or somebody you know has found recovery outside of conventional step work, I want to know your story and share it with others so that they can be inspired to do the same. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again.